And we're live.
Good morning, everybody. Nice to see you all. It's a beautiful day until the weather comes in. But this is going to be a MES board 5/27/2023, and we have some interesting things happening today. There is a roll call, and I see that we do have a quorum, so we will proceed with the quorum. And now we are going into an organizational meeting. This is taken on, and we are taking a look at people who are going to be working with us inside, and it's just great. Things happen. And here we have, and I think we have to put on. There we go. All right. Our two welcome new members who have come, and they have gotten their coming in through us for our new time. And you will, I think, both have 4 years.
Yep.
We have 4 years, and that's terrific. We're happy to have you here. So thank you. Appreciate it. We have Mr. Bates, who is there. Bats, I'm sorry. Well, there we go. See? Doesn't last long. And Ms. Molly Joe. Okay. Nice to see you. And you will enjoy being in MES. These wonderful people. Head to toe. And beyond that. Now, do we have pictures of the individuals? Okay. Is that everybody on there?
Oh, wait a minute, something's wrong with the, Casey, can you fix our view?
Yeah, that's fine.
It's
Got
covering,
everybody
there
in.
we go. Something's wrong with the way it's displaying. Casey's working on it. Should not be overlapping.
Sorry.
Stop and reshare.
How does that look?
It's still overlapping. And the only person we can see is your box.
Get in there.
Yeah.
There we go.
Something's wrong
Let's
with
get
this.
that.
No, but it's still cutting off half the side.
Go ahead and reshare, Pam.
It's probably-
Why is it doing that? It looks fine online. There we go.
That's back.
Got it? All
All
right.
right, sorry about that.
Well, no, it's fine. We're on. We have now looking at these individuals, and they are going to be taking a look at elections. Now, the matters are chair, secretary, and for treasurer. Most of the individuals that we are taking a look at right now. The first thing will be for the chairperson. I will not be asking to continue because it's been about 3 years or more. It's 4 years And after a while, you know, you should open up things and let other people come in and take over things. And I think we can do that, do it in a very, very well way. So in order to do that, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve. And then there would be a second and a vote. And is there a person who is asking for a nomination for the chair?
I'd like to nominate Ms. Shelley Ellen.
Is there anyone who approves? I will approve. And is there a second as well?
I'll second.
Second, all right. Is there now a vote to be taken, to be chair?
I'll abstain.
You abstain, but it won't last for long. Okay. So therefore, all those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Any opposed? None? Well, madam, you're the boss. So thank you very much. You have been a terrific person here, and also in what you do at Kent County and many other things. And I know you will be terrific here as the chair. So what we're going to do to show it off is to switch seats. There you go.
Hey, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I would like to take a moment just to thank Judge Smalkin for his wonderful leadership over the course of the past several years. You've done an amazing job as chairman, and at least for me, thank you very much.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you so much. Thank everybody here. It's good. Don't worry.
Okay, so it looks like now we need the rest of the board appointments, and why don't we start with secretary? Is there a nomination for secretary?
I'd like to nominate Judge Smokin for secretary.
Okay, how about a motion to that effect?
Do I have to second it?
I'll make the motion.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, excellent. Any other discussion? Okay, so all those in favor, why don't we keep the same format as Judge Schmalkin established for us? If you are in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
I'll be resigned, set. I'm out. Still.
Okay.
I'm out without it.
Okay, well, welcome, Mr.
Thank
Secretary.
you very much. Don't
And
worry, we can just go around again.
that's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So treasurer, now we have a vacant position for treasurer. Is there a nomination for board treasurer?
I'd like to nominate Mr. Botts.
Okay, and can we have a motion?
So moved.
And I'll second it.
Excellent. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Mr. Botts did abstain for the record. Okay, approved. Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
And now I do believe we need to officially appoint a clerk for the board. So is
I'd like to nominate Mrs. Fuller to continue on as board clerk. She's a great job at it.
Absolutely. I agree.
Is that a motion?
That is a motion.
Okay, and a second? I do believe Ms. Fuller has done an amazing job as clerk, so I would just like to share that. Any other discussion? And if not, all those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That was a unanimous approval, Ms. Mueller. Welcome. Again.
Now you can stop looking.
Okay, next, we are still in our organization mindset. We need to look at our committees. So the bylaws state that that the chair is to present a proposed list of board members to serve on the standing committees and a proposed chair for each committee. So I would like to find out if Mr. Bobby Witt is interested in being the chair of the HR committee and Brendan Botts of the audit committee, and then we can fill in the seats from there.
I'm good with being the chair on the HR committee.
Okay.
So I would like to make a recommendation for a switch, if it's okay. If Ms. Joe would be accepting of it to be the chair of the audit committee. That would do is, if she's willing.
Sure.
Thank you, Ms. Joe.
Okay. And perhaps I could make a suggestion that the state secretary serve on the audit committee with his expertise coming from the finance world. How do you feel about that, Treasurer Davis?
I'm fine with whatever you need, Madam Chair.
Okay, wonderful. And Mr. Botts, are you interested in serving on the audit committee?
Yes.
Okay, and Judge Smolkin on the HR committee?
Okay.
Okay, we do still have one vacancy on the board. I am automatically serving as a member on each of the committees, and would be nice if Dr. Glass also served on both committees. So we'll have one vacancy on the HR committee, and perhaps our new member, when we find out who that is, would be interested. So wonderful. So we have a motion to approve as discussed.
So move.
Second.
Excellent. Any other discussion, comments, questions? And if not, all those in favor, indicate by raising your hand and saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, it looks like we have a new slate for our committee assignments. Thank you.
You just started.
And I just started. So next, we're looking at our meeting schedule for the upcoming, for the rest of the calendar year. As you can see on your screens, are there any comments or issues with any of the items on the slide? Okay, wonderful. Okay, if anybody does have any concerns, if you could submit those to the clerk after you review your schedule, that would be fantastic. And as well, we have the HR committee, at least some of them, and the audit committee meetings displayed as well.
This is the draft 2024 schedule.
Draft 2024 schedule. Any comments? And you can coordinate with the clerk if there are any issues that we have there. I suppose we need to approve this. So if someone would like to make a motion to approve the proposed meeting schedule.
So move.
Second.
Okay. Okay, excellent. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous approval. Thank you. Okay, and as those of you that have served before, you know that we have annual training requirements, ethics, sexual harassment, diversity, standard of care for board members, and agency policies. And this is required by the MES Reform Act. These are to be scheduled this fall. As well as required by statute, general provisions, at least one of us has to be Open Meetings Act certified, and that means attending a class. There's a 2-hour class that you can take from time to time, or you can go online and take this class. I know that I do have a certification in this. In an ideal world, I would recommend that all board members receive this training, because I think it's really valuable training as far as what constitutes a meeting and when we can go into closed session. And what are the exceptions that allow us to do this? So is anybody else certified? You, Ms. Joe is certified as well. You are certified, okay. Okay, excellent. And those of you that are not certified, if you would like the information on becoming certified, Ms. Fuller can send you that information.
And Madam Chair, just to clarify, not only must at least one member of the board be certified in order for the board to go into closed session, but at least one member of each committee must also have the certification if either of the two committees would want to have a closed session.
Okay, good point. Thank you.
And Treasurer Davis has a question.
Yes, Treasurer Davis.
Thank you. Can I back up just a little bit with the annual trainings? Because of other hats that I wear, I'm required, for example, to do the ethics of sexual harassment. I had the ethics training maybe a month and a half ago. Is this something for this entity specific, or is it just sort of a general state one? Because I'm wondering if maybe this is a different type of ethics training, or do I need to take it a second time, or do we know how that works?
This is the state. This is similar to all the state training. So and this was put into our new statute. But I'm sure that the fact that you've taken it within the year, since we had it a year ago, that we could probably make some considerations for the state treasurer. But and we will be working on tweaks to the statute for the next session to take care of your particular situation.
Okay. I mean, if I need to, that's fine. I was just curious.
It is the same. It is based on the same information.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a good question. Okay, organizationally, are there any other questions? And if not, we can move on to our regular business agenda. Okay, excellent. You have, all the board members have been provided copies of the minutes from the meeting of June 22nd, 2023. Are there any objections, corrections, or is there any further discussion by any of the board members? Okay, if there are no further corrections, the minutes are approved as distributed. Now we have the executive director's report. Dr. Glass.
Thank you, Chair Heller. Next slide. The approval of the minutes was after mine. For Ms. Joe and Mr. Botts, one of the requirements in statute is that the director and the executive director and the deputy director report their expenses for the car month. It is a $500 threshold. However, before the statute became law, I was already doing it. So I think this provides great transparency on how we spend agency funds. So we have both a purchase card and we can hand in expense receipts. Just so you see the parking when we had our meeting, Mr. Butts. That just shows up, right?
Is anybody taking exception to the $3.50 charge?
So, I mean, and I don't know, a lot has transpired. I'll talk with the new chair about whether we'll just go with the statute limit, but it is a great best practice. And the other is so I also attended a scientific technical advisory committee for the day program in Hershey Park. And sometimes with the purchase cards versus the expenditures, they show up in different delay periods, just so you all know. And Deputy Furquette attended WEFMAC. She is a WEF delegate, Water Environment Federation delegate. So she represents the region at national and international conferences sometimes. Next slide. And she's very photogenic, so you see some pictures of her leading discussions and with all the other WEF delegates in, what's that island? Prince Edward Island, Canada. They gave me an acronym. So this is documentation of how we're using the agency's resources. We're very frugal, so we'll just keep on showing stuff when conferences pop up. External engagements. We had our FY25 capital budget meeting yesterday with the Department of Budget and Management. That's probably the highlight of our meetings. We believe it went well. I don't know if Treasurer Davis would share his perspective on the future budgets for the state, but Department of Budget and Management did not present a positive outlook for out years right now as the estimates come out for revenues for the state, particularly home sales and how that rolls into the amount of capital that the state has to make new investments. So we may, and we've heard that also from MDOT, that some of the capital projects that are into the future may get delayed or trimmed back. Great conversations with the Oyster Recovery Partnership. There's a big push to plant more oysters and finish up some protected areas that adds to nutrient removal. The recruitment events are very slow, it turns out. This is our first full cycle of really being intentional with the recruitment events. And the summer is a lull, so we only have a couple, but the fall career fairs and job fairs are already stacking up. We're already registered for, I can't remember which universities, but a lot of them came in this week and we paid the fees to be registered to attend the job fairs. So next slide. Summer internship program continues to go really well. We just recently placed 3 interns or 4 total. 3 are placed, 3 new interns were placed at DNR to help with the aquaculture licenses this week. And we have one intern that's already here that's also joining the program. We onboarded 7 new employees and lost 17 in July, but our vacancy rate remains under 5%. 8 of the positions are overhead that are currently vacant. We have a new start dates in August and remain vigilant in staying under the 5% goal. But again, the 13 interns are not included in our numbers, but the majority of them are billable. So we really would have close to a 2.3% calculated rate if we included the interns. We'll work on that in time. So the interns that we've had have been so good that some of whom are finishing or they're located in the region. We're inviting them back for winter break. We're inviting them back for whenever they want to come and lend a hand because they've been that good. So really excited. We've been doing things throughout the summer, following some of the things we learned in, what's the book? She's upstairs, but there's a book we've been using for a couple of years of how you deal with organizational management and how you make sure that you create a great culture. It was one of the first books I bought on the purchase card. Anyway, it includes having programs to have peer-to-peer engagement. And we've been really utilizing a lot with interns to, even though we're an independent state agency, having it be more like a summer program for them, where even if they're in different parts, different silos, they get together and they learn things. They're going to Cox Creek, for instance, next week. They're going to Cox Creek soon. Next slide. So they had, and we feed the college students pretty regularly to get them lunch. They go to lunch and interaction together. So Friday, we'll be at the Frederick Keys, continuing our Night at the Yards tour of the minor league baseball stadiums in the state. We had a great turnout in Louis Bay Sox, but we're gonna continue the tour, and I'll be there Friday night, and it should be fun. It's just fun to have people interact outside of the office and see some of our folks throughout the region. Next slide. Highlight a new appointment by one of our own. We still remain, for the board to know, we still remain at the Backford wastewater treatment plant. We're just not operationally, just working on 2 capital projects that hopefully will finish in the next 1 to how many months. But our own Mr. Barr, Managing Director for Wastewater, was named as a governor's representative to the Baltimore Regional Water Governance Task Force, which has a very short window of time to prepare a document for the General Assembly by January on what is the best governance form for water and wastewater treatment and conveyance in the Baltimore region. So cheers to Mr. Barr. I don't know if he's really he's representing the governor, he's not representing us. I'm sure he'll do well representing MES as well.
Dr. Glass, I certainly look forward to bringing the same expertise that we brought to Back River to this community, to this group.
Excellent. Next slide. So unfortunately, I was on vacation during the Summer Maryland Municipal League Conference this year. The communications team unveiled the new booth that they designed and procured last winter. And I am told that it was the talk of the conference. On the business side, we received 14 inquiries at the conference, and they have been distributed to the managing directors for follow-ups or the appropriate person. We are looking forward to the Maryland Association of County Officials event in 3 weeks, which is always fun, and attending Treasurer Davis's reception, which came gratis. You didn't have to pay for it, which is awesome because we wouldn't have been paying anyway. Thankful that we did this.
I learned that in ethics class.
But we are, so those 2 for Ms. Joe and Mr. Botts, those 2 are major engagement organizations. So we work closely with many counties, all counties, to one degree or another. And we try to do our best to support towns and small communities. So those are our 2 main business development lines separate from our support state agencies. But everyone loved the new structure, new setup, and that's all internal design and graphics. So cheers to communications wherever you may be listening. Ms. Merkel. Next slide. So we had our 4th strategic advance, where we are moving forward with key performance indicators that were originally described in the strategic plan, the 5-year strategic plan that launched last year. We do have all of that slide deck, and that slide deck, to make sure, since comms is listening, the slide deck will be made into a report, a very straightforward, not overly verbose report that will be handed to you to document what we did in the first year. The good, bad, and the ugly, and how we're moving forward with those goals in this next year to continue. You obviously know the impact of some of the key performance indicators on our financial position and our number of positions. But there's other fine-tuned things in safety that we are also looking at. So we're ready. So we had it at the Durable Medical Equipment down in Cheltenham? Yeah, it's in Cheltenham. Good guess. So, and I didn't take the tour again, but up there is Dr. Ian's last name?
Andrews.
Dr. Ian Andrews from Department of Aging and touring. That's that machine he's showing.
Edwards, I'm sorry, Edwards.
Edwards, thank you. Takes a full-size wheelchair and uses UV light to disinfect it, correct? Or is that a washer?
And a solution.
And a solution and a rinse solution. So this is an incredible program. You'll learn more about it, but it's an incredible program, keeping medical equipment out of landfills heaven forbid, an incinerator, but out of landfills and providing them for free to citizens all over the state. It's a great reuse program that environmental operations at MES manages for the Department of Energy. And they have a nice little room outside, and that's where we had our, that's where we had our meeting. Actually, you can answer. Next slide. So former board member Ms. Wong asked a question. It may have been in the HR committee, but I used to love 3D graphics when doing proposals and papers in my academic days. So she asked a question about the distribution of our performance-based compensation based on the grade. And is it easier or harder for lower grade folks to get the full percentage increase? And so I asked Miss Intern, Miss Emily Short, we gave her data that did not have any descriptions in it, of course, but just gave her the raises and where people rated. And so for Ms. Joe and Mr. Botts, again, above a 4, the board approved a 5% increase at the end of last year. Between a 3.5 and a 4%, between a 3 and a 3.5, Mr. Patel, 2%? Or was it, a lower raise, and below 3%, nothing. So it's a performance-based compensation system, not simply a COLA structure. I think of anything above a 4 is you're saying that people from my academic days, that's a B or above, and it's fine. And then you go down. So it turns out that I'm not going to read all the verbiage. You see that in general, there are very few, 34 total, that are rated below a 3.5. And we hope that those staff members improve. But then above a grade 9, OIT represents operator in training. So I didn't ask Ms. Short to move it to the other side. Those are people trained to be a licensed operator. But very few above grade 9 are rated below a 4. But I've never seen this type of data presented from any entity ever. There may be businesses out in the world that present this, but businesses don't share public information. I just wanted to show that this is how we're doing our evaluation. This is how it came out. It's one data point. Like, this is a lot of data, but this is one observation. We will see how we do next year. The narrative with the management team, the executive leadership team, is just that we think this is a fair evaluation system. These are long-term employees, and we're asking for some to improve their performance. So this is the board member that asked for this is no longer here, but I wanted to present this to the board members that remain. And if I seriously doubt Ms. Wong, being the busy attorney that she is watching, but I'll send her the graphic and let her know that I answered her question. So anyway, any questions on this or comments? Okay, thank you. Next slide. Just to show those that did not see, after the last board meeting, we did honor Mr. Tanner. We have this tree on our side hill, and we have a plaque. We're getting that plaque mounted on a larger stone, but we honored our late board member, Mr. Hiram Tanner Jr. last month outside. Long-term wastewater advocate in the whole region. And his family was honored to be with us and thankful for what we've done to honor him. Next slide. And I'm sad to report that we lost a staff member, Owen O'Hare Jr., on Sunday, July 16th. After starting as a mechanic 3 in the environmental operations group, Owen was promoted to field operations supervisor in 2015 at the Montgomery County grinding operations. His career with MES spanned over 14 years. Owen was well respected and heavily relied on member of the MES team, frequently providing teaching and mentorship and always leading by example. From Lonnie Heflin, Chief Material Management Section, Recycling and Resource Management Division from the Montgomery County Department of Environmental Protection, I quote, "His work ethic was legendary and coworkers many years younger would often struggle to keep up with him. He gladly shared his experience and knowledge and always strived to make things better. It was his way. When I first met Owen over 30 years ago, he immediately earned my trust and respect. I am proud to have known him and my life has been better for it." So with that, I'd just like to ask if I can, Madam Chair, just to have a moment of silence for Mr. O'Hare and his family. Thank you, Madam Chair. And that concludes my report.
Okay. So we used to have a report called the Agency Activity Report, and it has been renamed the New Business Report. And that is included in the packet for review and on the screen. This is displayed. This is a list of proposals that have been accepted since the last meeting. Any questions about those? Okay, yeah, and yes, 2 slides. Didn't all fit on one slide. Now I do believe that it is Mr. Patel's opportunity to tell us about the finances of MES.
Thank you. Good morning.
Are we solvent?
So for past 12 months, I've been telling that we will end the year with so much billable labor, so much net earnings. So now finally, and you probably thought at that time, so we'll see if and when it happens. So finally, this the fiscal year 23 ended June 30, 2023. And we have done better than all the projections I did throughout the year. So here are the results. Our labor sales, our main earning is from overhead, fringe recovery, and other income. So increased labor sales directly translates into the overhead recovery, which pays for our overhead expenses. So whatever is the difference between the overhead recovery and the overhead expenses, that is goes as a part of our net earnings. So we have done significantly better in our labor sales. So for all 4 groups, overall, MES labor sales, that's the billable labor, was 12.37% higher than the previous year. So which is much higher than the salary, considering the salary raises. The billable hours also increased, vacancy rate went down. So that's why our labor sales is, I think it may be one of the highest, I don't know the comparison for it, but the revenues are the highest, but the labor sales has grown significantly in just one fiscal year. And every single group, the lowest increase was 7.87% increase in one of the environmental dredging groups, but it was some of the groups increased up to 16% from previous year. And as I mentioned, mainly because we fill most of the vacancies and we had more projects. So this is the labor sales. That's the key driver for our net earnings. Next slide, please. So as you can see, we had budgeted for the full year, the increase in net assets of 3.2 million and the labor sales of 35,814,000. And see, we ended with 38 million, which is 2.8 million higher than what we had budgeted for the full year, which is about 8% over the budget. Overhead recovery, as I mentioned, we determined the overhead rate we charge to all our clients 2 years in advance, because most of the government clients has to prepare a budget 2 years in advance. So we had a fixed rate projected, and it was an audited rate for fiscal year 2023. Based on that, we had projected the overhead recovery of 17 million 73, and we have actual 17,546,000. So that's the overhead recovery was 473,000 more than the budget. On the other hand, the overhead expenses were budgeted at 14,689,000, but our actual expenses were lower, 14,414,000. One of the reasons was the overhead vacancies. You know, we have a turnover, so when there's a vacancy, that has a significant savings in the overhead. We did not cut corners on any of the awards, the Inspire Awards, you know, or the training or a trial or anything, but it's just mainly the savings in vacancies. So we had 275,000 less in expenses. So combine both, you know, more overhead recovery, less expenses. Overhead variance is 748,000 more than the budget is. So that's a significant, that will increase the net earnings by a significant amount. Fringe recovery, a lot of times the fringe expenses are unexpected. We budgeted, but then you don't know how many employees will take advantage of tuition reimbursement, how many travels will happen, how many conventions will happen. What happens with the fringe costs, the health insurance costs. So all those are unpredictable. So usually we do not even consider the fringe recovery and the fringe expenses as a significant portion of our net earnings or net loss. But overall, we had budgeted that fiscal year 23, we are 118,000 loss, and now in June 2023, we are at 237. So instead of a loss, we are in the positive. So that added 355,000 to our net earnings. Working capital recovery is we charge 3% for 3% of the available labor to the project who do not provide us funding in advance. So MES pays for all expenses, then we bill it, then they will take 30 days to pay. So we are out of our MES's funds for 3 months. And unless, you know, there's a significant advance for the project. So we charge that overhead recovery as part of the overhead. And we have an actual overhead recovery of 919,000. I'll point out that we had budgeted for 650,000 because fiscal year 22, because of the COVID, fiscal year 22 rates were determined in 20, and because of the COVID, we were asked by DBM to reduce the overhead rate for the state project. So we have given them a 3% break in the rates. We should have taken that into consideration when we prepared fiscal year 23 budget, but we did not. So that's why we had projected a lower budget, but now we are recovering at the full rate. So that's why we have 919,000 in overhead recovery. So that added another 269,000 over the budget. One of the biggest difference happened in the interest income. For almost last 3 years, there was no interest. You know, you put the money in the bank, you get 0.1, you know, 0.2 interest. So we had budgeted 125,000. Actually, in the last year, the interest shot up. You know, it kept on going up 3, 4, 5, and we are watching daily investments. You know, and we buy and sell investments daily based on. Those are all conservative investments. You know, treasuries. So we made 737,000. Part of it is equipment fund, but significant interest increase in interest income that we had not budgeted. We did not even expect. So considering all that factors, if you can see that we had budgeted 3.2 million and we wind up with 5.5 million in net earnings. This is the highest as long as I remember, and I've been working here for 31 years. But you know, this is the highest net earnings. But of course, we're gonna put it to good use, some of those earnings. We're gonna bring all those proposals in the next few minutes. One of the things we're gonna do is we're gonna increase our contingency fund. The contingency fund is supposed to be the 5% of the last 3 years average for any contingency that may come in the future. So we're gonna increase that contingency fund by maybe 350,000. That's a specific calculation until the final audited results are in. we cannot do that calculation, but I expect that the $350,000 will be added to the contingency fund. There will be some other proposals will be coming in the future. Dr. Glass and I talked about research and development fund. So we will make a good use of this significant gain that we received that was not expected. But we will come up with the proposals, and if any of the board members has any proposal, where we should focus on going forward, we will consider that also. So taking into consideration, we have done a lot of analysis. We're gonna have at least 10 to 20 charging stations. We want to go in electric vehicles fleet. Right now, the electric vehicles are not available, but we are planning, and we have already received 3 proposals. We're gonna be finalizing within just a month or 2. There's a shortage of equipment, but we are planning that we're gonna have a significant increase in charging station on MES's property, starting with 10 to 15 to begin with, and another 20 for a 5-year plan. So we are looking forward to it. When we have this kind of extraordinary gain, of course, we will invest it wisely. Also, one of the big portion goes in the net earnings goes to the best and best plus. Those proposals will come to you, provided we meet the best goals. So that's our budget versus actual. And as I said, we did much better than expected. And our employees are working very hard, whether it was COVID or not, and we are getting new projects. Anytime we have a project, I think we get referrals and we get more projects. So that's why our revenues are significantly increased also. Let's go to the next slide, and then we'll talk about the revenues. I'll start with the bottom line here. The actual June 2022 revenues for the fiscal year 22 was 166 million. Fiscal year 2023 is 196 million. A lot of them are a pass-through. About 78% of that goes to the private companies, the contractors, the suppliers, for supplies and all that. So the significant increase in revenues are passed to the private entities also. We have a billable hours. If you look at the fiscal year 22, billable hours were 1,140,000. Now we have 1,202,000. So it's not just the salary increases, the billable hours also increase. Significant contribution is made because no vacancy. If you have low vacancies, it compounds. We get a higher fringe recovery, we have higher overhead recovery, and less overhead. So more and more billable, and Dr. Glass is focusing on billable, labor all the time. So that does help. So vacancies, from like 9 become less than 5. So that helps. All others are just the comparative fiscal year 22 versus fiscal year 23. And our revenues are up like 17.87%, and increase in net assets, which is the net earnings, is up 21.21%. So overall, we are not only solvent, we did excellent. And this 196 million, okay, it does not include all the revenues that MES has. We have a midshore that is totally separate financial statement, and the midshore has 9.7 million. We have a state capital projects that that water, wastewater, the state projects that was passed through to the state. Of course, we manage and we operate. That was another 5.8 million. So if you consider the total revenues that went through MES's books, it's 212 million. And that's the highest I have ever seen. So any questions on this?
Thank you, Mr. Patel. Very good news. We have an HR report. Shannon
Leon.
Betleon, the acting director, acting chief of HR. Betleon.
Yes.
Okay.
As of today, MES has 740 active employees and 35 vacant positions, bringing the agency vacancy rate to 4.5%. As Dr. Glass mentioned, this is an exciting time for us to bring in new talent. So in August, we will be welcoming new hires, as well as we have positions closing for applicants. Next week, the Inspire Awards Review Committee is meeting to evaluate 4 submissions for the August board meeting. And this program recognizes and rewards employees for outstanding contributions to MES. That's all I have.
Chart. Next slide. Is there a chart?
So month after month, we evaluate this as a benchmark. And MES certainly, when July of 22, there at the beginning, you can see we're in a very different position than we are right now. And rather flat in the past several months. Ms. Hattie Crosby for procurement. I do believe she's stealing the show here on this particular agenda with 11 items. Ms. Crosby?
Yes, good morning, everyone. Item 1 before you is for the Montgomery County Yard Trim and Compost Facility for our environmental operation group. The awarded contractors earn contractors fee. The contractor is a certified minority business company. This is a change order to their original contract. There were a number of renewals and change orders before this change order. This change order amount is $325,000, bringing the total contract amount to $3,160,817.50. There's a 30% MBE gold on the contract, and the contractor is currently achieving 25%. But again, EARN is also a minority business company.
And we're already, the 4th option year has already been exercised, correct? Which gets us through mid-November of 2023. So this is simply adding to the amount for the cost of living increase and the anticipated additional site needs, correct?
Yes.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Second.
And are there any questions? Okay, as with before, if you approve, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
If you oppose, same sign. Thank you. Unanimously approved. Approved. Procurement item number 2.
Hold on. I'm sorry. May I?
Yes. Yes, please.
I'm just curious as to how it works, and I just sort of caught it. It said the MBE goal is 30% participation to date is 25% achieved, and that the contractor is a certified MBE prime. So, and forgive me if I should know this, I probably should, but because the prime is the certified MBE, because the prime contractor is an MBE, does that count towards the agency's goal?
Yes, it does. And in addition to being a prime contractor, the contractor also has to subcontract 30% of the contract to another MBE.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering if because they were an MBE, then would it just be 100% MBE, but they're required to sub to an additional MBE?
Yes.
Got it.
But in our numbers, when you see our numbers and when we submit them to the state, that is what weighs out with things that are below 29%. So it will be 100% towards the MES goal, but they still need to sub.
Yes.
But
Got it.
But they're
Got
allowed to self.
But they're allowed to self-perform 50%.
Right.
They're allowed to self-perform 50% of the MBE goal, 30%.
Good question.
Perfect. Thanks. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
No,
Good question.
thank you, Treasurer.
Mr. Crosby?
Okay. Item 2 is for the Montgomery County Recycling Center. This is a general labor service contract. The contractor is Colossal Contractors, Inc. Colossal is also a certified MBE firm. The amount of this renewal is, okay, yes, the amount of this renewal is $2,640,080.40, bringing the total revised contract amount to $7,463,594.80. There's an MBE goal of 30% on this contract as well, and the contract is achieving 27.6%.
May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion or questions? If not, let's take a vote. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous approval. Thank you. Procurement item number 3.
Okay, item 3 is for our wastewater group. This is for the City of Cambridge wastewater treatment plant sludge hauling services. The contractor is Shore Waste LLC. This is a renewal, the 4th renewal in the amount of $131,784. And the revised total contract now is $561,376.50.
Okay, may I have a motion for approval?
Move approval.
Second?
I'll second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Same sign for opposed. It passed unanimously. Item number 4.
Item 4, Sandy Hill Creative Disposal Project. Pursuant to a consent order, this is a contract from our AE shortlist, which are architect engineering firms. The awarded contract is Arcadis US Inc. The amount of the contract is $454,074, and the MBE goal on this contract is 30.6%.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor of approval, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Again, unanimous approval. Number 5.
Okay, item 5 is for our environmental operation group. This is a ground cover maintenance for Harford County landfill. The awarded contractor is JD Lawn Service Inc. The original contract amount was $80,020. This is the second renewal for $80,020, bringing the total revised contract amount to $240,060.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second?
Aye.
Any questions or comments?
I have a question.
Yes.
So it says AE shortlist. How many entities bid on that contract?
Good question.
That was the first question that I had in my first meeting.
A lot.
as
We
well.
have like 7 or 8 different categories for the AE firms to bid on. And it could be anywhere between 15 to 20 contractor per category award. So it's one of our big procurement.
We can award up to 7 per category. And each group has its own set of shortlist engineers based on the work that they do.
How often is that shortlist updated?
That's bid every 5 years, Patty.
Yes, and we're at the end of the term for the previous contract, so we put in the.
Okay, thank you.
And that is a limit of 500,000.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All those in favor of approval, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's approved unanimously. Number 6.
Item 6 is for Ground Station Road Sanitary Landfill. This is groundwater compliance support. This again is a procurement from our AE shortlist. The awarded contractor is SCS Engineering in the amount of $224,883. And the MPE goal for this contract is 25%.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor of approval, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Unanimous approval on that item as well. Number 7.
Number 7 is also for Brown Station Road Sanitary Landfill. This is a regulatory compliance support for air emission compliance monitoring. From our AE shortlist, the awarded contractors SCS Engineering in the amount of $476,871. And the goal on the contract is 20%.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
A second? Questions or comments? All those in favor of approval, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Unanimous approval.
Item 8 is for the Sandy Hill Creative Disposal Project. This is a landfill regulatory compliance for air emission compliance. Again, an AE shortlist contractor. The contractor is SCS Engineering. The amount is $476,988, and the goal on this contract is 10%.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Yeah, it's a problem. But it's not this one, sorry.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of approval, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Number 9.
Number 9 is for our Environmental Dredging and Restoration Group. This is for the Deep Creek Lake Arrowhead Cove Dredging Project. This is a competitively sealed bid. The proposals from the awarded contract.
Ms. Crosby, can you save item 9 until the end? It doesn't look like we have the treasurer or his representative.
They are both on the line.
Oh,
They
they're
just
both
have
there
their
still?
cameras off.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully one will come on and vote. We need, okay, sorry.
It's okay.
I don't have the laptop.
The awarded contractor is Biso Enterprise Inc. And the amount of the contract is $1,677,147. And the goal on the contract is 10%.
Is there a motion for approval?
I need to abstain from this one.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Witt.
Questions?
Yeah, I have a question. So this is, the amount is estimated. Do you know when that's gonna be, the final amount is gonna be determined? Is it based on the contract? Could it change?
There were some remarks that I had that I don't see on the screen, but are probably in your packet. This was originally already went to the board, and we had a max amount of budget of 1.4 million, and we only received one bid, and it exceeded the bid by over 200,000, or it exceeded our budget. So we're negotiating with the single bidder, and we successfully got a revised bid yesterday, which is less than that amount. It's actually 1.62 million and change. So we're grateful and successful. And it'll be 11,000 cubic yards of material that will be dredged. So we're very happy
another remark that's included in the packet. I think, when we originally came to the board, we had a 14% MBE goal, which was very aggressive. Most typical dredging projects, we have difficulty getting a high achievement of MBE, and being a remote location, he was having trouble finding MBEs and having to go way far out, which inflated his cost. And as part of the negotiations, we wound up reducing the MBE goal to 10%, which increased our dredging quantity, lowered the price.
So we have one abstention. Do I have a motion for approval? Second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, and I'm hopeful somebody from Treasurer Davis's office or Treasurer Davis himself can vote on this. We have to be careful with the number of votes. So if you could raise your hand if you vote approval and say aye. Aye.
No, there's no activity. They're physically connected, but they're both on mute with no video.
Okay, so do we revisit this in a moment? Okay, we'll come back to that one when Treasurer Davis resurfaces.
Ms. Joe, we have a requirement of 5 affirmative votes of the board members. We're down 1, and if 2 people are out, we only have 4. We can't.
So we'll table that one and hopefully come back to that this later in the meeting. So item number 10.
Item number 10 is also for the Environmental Dredging and Restoration Group. This is for the Cox Creek Dredge Material Containment Facility. This is an intergovernmental purchase with HGAC. The awarded contractor is Salem Dewatering Solution, Inc. in the amount of $248,438.16. This is a one-time purchase, and of course, this is the equipment purchase. And there's no MBE goal.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Excellent. Any questions or comments? Right, all those in favor of approval, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we have 5 ayes. Number 11.
Item 11 is for the Environmental Dredging and Restoration Group. The project is the Paul S. Sarbanes Ecosystem Restoration at Coppola Island. This is the purchase of this is an intergovernmental purchase from Sourcewell equipment. The awarded contractor is Carter Machinery, and the estimated amount of this purchase is $340,000.
Your motion for approval.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All those in, any questions or comments? All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we have 5 in favor. Thank you, Miss Hattie. And we'll hopefully come back. Okay, the next slide in the packet are procurement, the next 2 slides are procurement notifications. These are any contracts, purchase orders, amendments, or change orders in the amount of $25,000 to $200,000, and this is per the MES Reform Act. It kind of dictates our thresholds. Any questions? Legal report. I do believe Mr. Coleman has left us.
Yes, I'm
so-
not Sean Coleman. I'm Priscilla Carroll. I'm an Assistant Attorney General representing the Environmental Service. Mr. Coleman was here for the earlier part of the meeting, but he has dropped off as he is on vacation. But he's left me to deliver some good news about the conclusion of peace litigation against MES. The company had filed a bid protest in an effort to
have MES's denial of its request for a waiver of the MBE requirements reviewed in the circuit court for Anne Arundel County. And so they had filed a petition for a writ of administrative mandamus in the court in May. This relates to the upgrade of the wastewater treatment system at Elk Neck State Park. MES, in June, they filed an emergency motion for an expedited stay of any further proceedings, which would, if granted, have stopped MES from moving forward on that work. MES obviously opposed that motion to stay any proceedings. And in July, the court denied their motion without a hearing. And so about a week or so later, the petitioner dismissed its appeal. So that case is over and the project is moving forward.
Thank you. Any other legal news?
No, we're just busy and working hard on a lot of different things.
Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Carroll.
Someone else from the treasurer's office connected,
Excellent.
but, so do we have Treasurer Davis or Ms. Gilly?
Hey all, can you hear me? This is Megan.
I can.
Okay, Treasurer Davis and Joanna both had to step out, so they asked me to jump on. I just did, so I'm not sure what the question was for Treasurer Davis, but they are not going to be back on for at least a bit. Is there something that needs to be held or everyone needs to get back to?
Yeah, we had one procurement item that needed one additional vote to be passed.
Designate or can't designate, so
Okay.
if he designates.
Has he designated you, Megan, to represent him?
No, Joanna is his designee.
Yeah,
We
Joanna.
have, you know, the paperwork for that. I just
Yeah.
needed to
Okay.
hop on. I mean, it was very quick, so they just
Sure,
said,
sure.
could you hop on? So yeah, I guess technically, I mean, I'm not up to speed on anything
No, no,
either,
we
so I
wouldn't
wouldn't
ask,
wanna.
we wouldn't ask you to do that.
Yeah.
No, don't worry about it. How long do you think it will be? We're pretty much done, but we can wait a few minutes or take.
Oh,
a-
no.
Or you
I,
think it's
I'm,
more than
sorry, I
15
wouldn't,
minutes?
no. I am not sure, but I wouldn't want to hold everyone up. I mean,
Yeah.
they just, whenever Joanna got off, I mean, what was that, maybe 10 minutes ago?
Yeah.
That was when it started, and I don't know how long it's gonna take, so.
Everyone else vote. Can we ask?
Yeah,
After the fact?
I can see if Joanna could step out in a moment and kind of check, but I, you know, the treasurer's relying on her to be
Sure.
where he is right now.
Right.
Understood.
Do you want to wait a few minutes? And I mean, maybe I can send her a message.
Yeah, we'll wait a few minutes and,
Yeah, it'll take them like a minute to cast their vote. I would think.
yeah, we only need 1 minute at a time, but we'll wait a few minutes because we'd have to hold another whole meeting in order to.
Yeah, I know. That's
Understand.
why I'm like, I hate for you all to have to do that. I know that you would have to. Let me just message her very quickly, see if she responds, see if we can just, even at worst, pull her out for just a second.
Even for a second, that'd be great.
Yeah, give me just 1 minute.
We'll wait 5.
Thank you.
All I have to say is,
Approved.
Exactly,
There it is.
exactly. The rest of us have officially, that's what I'm saying. And the rest of us have officially voted, right? Yeah, we voted on that, so we literally just need
That's right, yes or no, or abstentions, yes.
Yeah, just leave it, change the scope.
to be proper. Make sure they know what they're voting on, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, in the meantime, while we're waiting, is there any other business that anyone would like to present in open session? Just a PSA is that the next regular meeting is Thursday, August 24th, 2023 at 9:30 a.m.
This is a function of us needing the 7th voting.
Been waiting on this item for a while.
No, well, so we can't, I don't know, this is ready to award sometime in the next 4 weeks, I'm assuming.
Is it possible to do notice of intent of award? without, you
No,
know,
no,
and-
don't, we're not gonna do any special, we're not gonna do anything special, but no is the answer. But, when does this, I know the work is gonna be done in October, November, December, right? But when would notice proceed so they can start, call that thing when they start mobilizing? They're cutting it.
We have rice.
Hey, she got back, thank you.
Oh, wonderful.
Open wide.
Thank you, Mr. Lay, once, oh.
I was gonna say, Ms. Crosby, can you give us a quick synopsis of
Sure,
procurement item number
Sure,
9?
it's item number 9 for the environmental dredging and restoration. The project is the Deep Creek Lake Arrowhead Cove Dredge Project. This was a competitively sealed bid. One bidder, Bison Enterprise, Inc., in the amount of $1,677,147. I understand that there has been a negotiation with this contractor, so that amount is a little lower. The MBE goal for the project is 10%.
Again, I'm abstaining.
And we've already had a motion and a second, so we just needed to see the full votes in favor or opposed.
So with Mr. Witt abstaining, the rest of us have voted in favor and we're just seeking
Sure,
your
sure.
approval. Okay, so we have another vote of approval.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, the most important order of business is left on the table, and that is a motion for adjournment. Oh, I can declare it an adjournment. Wouldn't you like to make the motion?
No. I'm out of it. I just said.